The beautiful San Luis Valley, nestled against the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, the valley attracts paranormal and UFO researchers. Sightings of flying saucers have been part of local lore for the past century. Nearby, the Cheyenne Mountain Air Base conducts maneuvers, many under a cloak of secrecy. Some residents of this valley, like Jim Roberts, exchange stories of their sightings.
We're talking about something that looks like a moon when there is no full moon, and I've never seen him really any higher than just below the tip of the mountain, the top of the mountain peaks. Sometimes you'll see like two car lights, and all of a sudden they'll flip-flop, one will be on top of the other. They just take off at enormous speed and are gone.
Jimmy Lloyd is a retired Air Force colonel. He claims to have seen a huge craft over the San Luis Valley in January 1994.
It was a clear day in the afternoon, and I was traveling down this road, and this object appeared in the windshield of my car, headed right toward the Oak Creek grade in a descending direction, went through that gap, and these bright arc green lights were in array like a horseshoe in reverse, and it was moving at a speed well in excess of 20,000 miles an hour, and no sound, absolutely no sound.
Tim Edwards actually captured his sighting on tape. Edwards' family owns a popular restaurant in Salida, Colorado. Like many residents, he had heard rumors of sightings. On the morning of August 27th, 1995, Edwards had one of his own.
My daughter Brandy and I just had got done eating breakfast and walked outside to check on the progress of two construction workers. And we're standing there probably about a minute or so. Brandy says, Daddy, there's something up in the sky.
I said, Dad, no, there's something up in the sky. He says, stop, leave me alone. He looked up and he saw it.
Tim grabbed his video camera and taped the event for 6 minutes. You are watching what he claims is actual footage of a UFO.
Yeah, a spaceship grow bigger like that. Huh?
It probably moved 100 miles in a matter of a second or two.
We were in an extreme awe. It was just like we were kind of like just petrified, just paralyzed, you know.
See that now?
You know, what is this thing? Brandy asked me, you know, what is it, Dad? I said, this is a spaceship from another world.
For 20 minutes, father and daughter watched the amazing sight, believing that the object in the sky was aware of their presence.
No kind of aircraft, I'll tell you that.
Oh, no. Overwhelming feelings came over me. It almost looked like we were looking into a transparent cloud or something, into another space or dimension. The light wasn't radiating from it. It wasn't reflecting sunlight. It was like its own energy.
Tim and Brandy Edwards weren't the only ones to see a strange object in the sky. Some residents of the area reported to have seen a UFO over Salida around the time that Edwards says he did. But for Tim Edwards, this wasn't just a sighting. It was a religious experience, a close encounter with another world.
My family had a hard time understanding my feelings, like an electrical charge going through my whole body, but especially my mind, all these profound feelings.
UFO believers, reporters, and the curious descended on the rural community, hoping for a repeat performance. Local reporter Arlene Schovold did some digging through local archives and found a history of sightings in this area stretching back to World War I.
In looking through the old newspapers here at the Mountain Mail, I saw a reference to a mysterious airship. The 1917 sighting quoted all of these credible people as having seen this thing, cigar-shaped thing in the sky, and it was seen in the same location as where Tim Edwards saw his, and the description was just exactly like the thing he saw.
Before the sighting, Edwards had no interest in UFOs or extraterrestrials. Now he was convinced that aliens had chosen him to spread their message.
The spiritualism of the whole event, basically, kind of like it put me on a mission to get my word out to the world, or the events in Salida, what happened that day. It was almost like pretty much an obsession at times.
I think Tim was obsessed with it at first, too. I'd say it was the highlight of his life. He's a person who saw an unusual thing, and he was, fortunately, I think, open enough to talk about it and film it. That was the main thing, that he got that on video, so he's not discredited.
I get feedback, that people, talk behind your back, and a lot of people, I think, at first probably thought I was crazy, and they were laughing at first. But when I came forward, virtually hundreds of witnesses came forward. The local newspaper did 23 articles on the UFO activity, editorials, what the heck's going on.
Edwards felt compelled to tell everyone what he had witnessed. For months, he relived the event over and over, but his obsession was soon getting in the way of the family restaurant. Then he came up with a new solution. He opened a new restaurant and called it E.T.'s Landing.
I feel through my research that, with everything going on, it just is, like, say, the escalation of UFO activity, the mass sightings, the religious and medical miracles, the way the world, the direction we're heading, everything is coming together like something is gonna pop.
Edwards soon discovered that there was a price to pay for his newfound fame. What at first felt like a blessing has at times become an overwhelming burden for Tim, his wife, and his family.
My dad's life really changed. My dad every time talk about UFOs every day, and I don't. It's like, talk about different stuff.
I'm not obsessed with the mission anymore. No, I've substantially backed off. It's like my feelings aren't near as strong as they were a year ago. It was just like it totally engulfed my whole life.
Tim Edwards still pursues his mission. He conducts school presentations, gives speeches, and between courses, tells his story to diners at the restaurant.
The people in Salida have been very supportive, and they come to me a lot of times wanting answers and to talk about their sightings. They feel they can confide in me and trust me.
Could be,
Isn't that what it is?
Edwards' video has attracted UFO believers from around the world, and in their hunt for answers, they've uncovered another disturbing phenomenon in the San Luis Valley. The San Luis Valley of Colorado is a hotspot of UFO sightings. The area has also been linked to a series of mysterious and disturbing animal deaths over the past 30 years. On the morning of August 27, 1995, Tim Edwards videotaped an unidentified flying object over Salida, Colorado. His was the latest in a long history of such unexplained events in the valley.
About a year after.
Since 1995, UFO investigators have tried to uncover why the valley seems to attract such bizarre aerial phenomena.
The footage that I saw that was shot by Tim Edwards was absolutely fabulous. Beyond description, really. It was truly an unidentified flying object.
Ken Storch is a Denver area police officer and part-time UFO investigator. After seeing Tim Edwards' video, Storch visited Salida. He was struck by the effect the sighting had had on Edwards.
It seems like anybody that has a real interaction with the phenomena, like a UFO, there seems to be a profound change in their personality.
After Edwards went public with his video, sightings increased in the San Luis Valley, reaching a peak in 1998. It was then that Ken Storch returned to mount an unusual UFO research project. He brought an expedition into the valley in hopes of collecting data and evidence.
In our group, we have an archaeologist, we have a theologist, a PhD, we have a retired police officer, We have a college student. We have a very diverse group of individuals that brought a lot of things to the table and a lot of perspectives that help us to gather this information and this data.
Members of the team were chosen after responding to an ad Storch had placed in a Denver newspaper. Their reasons for joining the expedition differed as much as their backgrounds.
I'm hoping that we can get enough exposure to get somebody to fund us for a solid year to go into the field to the hotspots.
I have a natural curiosity about the phenomena that we're attempting to observe. And we're trying to get organized information. We have crews out at different times. And I feel comfortable with that. I think it's a better way of getting at the type of information we're trying to get at.
Some members took shifts, scanning the skies. Others collected testimony from witnesses who reported seeing a craft similar to the one Tim Edwards videotaped. Sighting logs were compiled to look for patterns in UFO incidents. Other than some strange lights in the sky, the team came up with no evidence of UFOs. When the expedition ended a week later, Storch shared his findings with a local UFO investigator and author, Chris O'Brien.
I originally got involved in full-time investigating when there was so much activity here in the San Luis Valley that I just couldn't believe that there was nobody running around interviewing folks, trying to document the reports that have been filed. I've seen red orbs, orange orbs, big, huge green fireballs, little tiny 12-foot hybrid saucer-type jet ships, like something out of the Jetsons is the only way I can describe it. The variety and intensity of unusual phenomenon reported here is unrivaled anywhere.
It lasted about 12 minutes.
Storch and O'Brien have recorded hundreds of testimonials concerning sightings in the valley. But Tim Edwards' video remains the most controversial piece of evidence to date.
Tim Edwards' footage that he captured in late August 1995 is among the most impressive daylight videos of a UFO-type object I personally have ever seen. We were able to find witnesses around the state who saw something very similar that same day, and it's hard not to make the leap that everybody saw the same craft. To my knowledge, no one has yet adequately explained it.
While the investigators found no physical evidence of UFOs, their research did uncover a dark legacy of bizarre animal mutilations that most locals refuse to talk about. For the past 30 years, deer, horses, and cows have been found butchered in a way that defies logic and reason. Their body cavities are carved out with delicate precision, and no blood is found at the site.
Okay, it's Monday, October 24th. This animal was taken 25 days ago. There's unusual cookie cutter incisions. The side of the face looks like it was burnt. We see obvious cookie cutter incisions. I mean, phenomenal. Go ahead, tell me the coyotes did that. And this animal appears to have been cookie cutter incised all the way from the chin, all the way down the belly to the rear end.
The carcasses are often found with genitals and portions of the head removed. To baffled investigators, the method of butchering is as shocking as the target of this killing spree. Crime scene evidence, some believe, indicates that the same person or thing has been responsible for the mutilations since they began in 1967.
The bottom line is that there are very serious mutilations that are done in ways that animals can't do it. The normal human that went out with a knife couldn't do it. You can see where they've actually cut between the cells with something like a laser. How do you do that in the field? Well, I've heard people say now, well, there are field laser devices you could go do that with. Not 20 and 30 years ago.
The bizarre killings have nearly bankrupted some valley ranchers. Sheriff's departments have been unable even to identify a suspect.
From some of the interviews I've been able to conduct, it's just a phenomenal amount of animal mutilations that are going on in this area, and the outside world just doesn't seem to understand or know about it.
I know of no other place that has the amount of cases documented from a single geographic region. Most of the cases are never heard of. They never are reported to law enforcement. They are never covered by the media. The rancher just picks it up in his truck, takes it to his bone pile, and out of sight, out of mind. And oftentimes the rancher just tell me, hey, I don't want to talk about it.
Chris O'Brien has documented nearly 100 mutilations in the San Luis Valley. In the process, he has developed a theory that he believes might explain the bizarre phenomenon.
The San Luis Valley is the only pristine environment left in North America. There's no air pollution, water pollution, any kind of pollution source here. Maybe the reason why we have so many animal deaths is because whoever or whatever is testing the animals may be testing the environment. And what a better place to have a control group for your baseline data to compare your other cases against.
Chris O'Brien and Ken Storch continue their investigations, sharing intelligence, hoping to find the one piece of information that might break the case.
I'm really surprised at the lack of attention this particular mystery has garnered, not only by science and law enforcement, but by the media.
You know, there's this giggle factor when you bring up UFO, when you bring up aerial phenomena, and especially when you try to extrapolate that or bring it into the mainstream science world, if you will. It's just not something that's readily accepted as a legitimate field of study, and that's what we're trying to do, is bring legitimacy to it.
Who or what is responsible for the sensational UFOs and the horrific cattle mutilations in the San Luis Valley? And is there an alien connection?
It's complicated in that a lot of military operations also take place in this valley. And separating the two is very difficult because some of the technology used by the military is very futuristic and very modern and can be misidentified as a UFO. But something needs to be done to stop the mutilations and find the culprit that's doing it.